member of ICC, a National Expert Committee on Higher Education Training, and CEO, Heritage Group of Institutions. The guests in the audience who have joined online or offline, my good morning to all. It is my pleasure to be here today. It is my privilege and honor to deliver a few words on 5th Globalized Education Forum organized by Indian Chamber of Commerce. I see that theme of this summit is internationalization of Indian higher education. Internationalization of higher education is a process of integrating an international, intellectual, or global dimension into the purpose, function, or delivery of higher education and international competitions for the benefit of foreign students, building an impactful international reputations. With internationalizations and competition, innovation and highly skilled professionals have assumed core importance along with productivity and efficiency of the students. Different parameters, standards, and instruments are being invented day in, day out, and being used to test the education system in a country as well as different stakeholders of education. Accordingly, transparency, accountability, educational institutions, and faculty are being put to test and being asked to perform according to the global standard, information-based society. The biggest challenge globalization offers is to envisage the betterment of the whole world and its citizens, not limiting one to the restricted geographical boundaries. Current need is to make Vasudev Kutumbakum, the Indian ethos of yesteryears, the mainstream once again to think and act globally. India, as a Vishwaguru during the ancient time of Takshashila and Nalanda, in order to ensure sustainable growth, National Education Policy 2020 has been brought with the vision that India takes the role of Vishwaguru. NEP 2020 is all about facilitating research, teaching, collaboration, mutually beneficial MOUs with foreign countries, encouraging high-performing Indian universities to set up campuses in other countries, setting up of international student office at each higher education institution for welcoming and supporting students arriving from abroad, counting credits acquired in foreign universities wherever appropriate as per requirement of each higher educational institution, and introducing courses in subjects such as ideology, Indian languages, Ayush, system of medicine, yoga, art, etc. To achieve the above mentioned objectives contained in the National Education Policy 2020, and several initiatives have already been taken. At the government-to-government level, Ministry of Education has signed MOUs, education exchange programs with counterpart in various countries. In this regard, MOU has been recently signed with Norway for cooperation in higher education. Also, an MOU with UAE for educational collaboration has been recently approved by the Cabinet and will be signed soon. Kingdom on mutual recognition of qualifications have been recently signed. A joint task force for mutual recognition of qualification with Australia has been set up to develop a framework for mutual recognition of education. The Asian University Consortium has signed more than 10 universities of the Southeast Asia, and the coordinator is the Vice Chancellor of the Nalanda University. Our education ministry participate in G20 education working group meeting and education ministers meeting. Bilateral meetings with the education ministry of Indonesia, Singapore, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Brazil, and South Africa were also held on the sideline. A decision was taken to form joint working groups with Ministry of Education of these countries to take forward the educational cooperation agenda forward. Engagement with international organizations such as United Nations and UNESCO is being continued to highlight India's achievement in education sector at a global platform. India has been re-elected to Executive Board of UNESCO and has been elected to the World Heritage Committee for 2021 and 2025, getting the highest number of votes from the Asia Pacific region. India will also chair the Finance and Administrative Commission of UNESCO for 2021 to 23 for the first time as full chair in 75 years. Unified curriculum framework is being developed as part of National Education Policy 2020 so that higher education and skill development is globally aligned to facilitate smooth mobility of students and professionals across the country. University Grants Commission brought in regulations in May 2022 permitting academic collaboration between Indian and foreign higher educational institutions to offer twinning, joint degree, and dual degree programs. Currently, 230 Indian universities are eligible to collaborate with the foreign higher education institutions as per the regulations. As of now, 43 Indian higher education institutions have informed that they have collaborations with the foreign higher educational institutions. 12 higher educational institutions are offering twinning degrees. 7 higher educational institutions are offering joint degree. Under this, students could get 40% of credit through online courses, including those from foreign universities. More than 150 Indian universities have already adopted SWAYAM courses. Indian institutions of eminence have been allowed to establish offshore campuses. Proposal for establishment of offshore campuses of IITs in AU, UAE, Malaysia, and Tanzania are under considerations. UGC is also working on a regulation that will enable foreign universities to set up campus in India. World-class foreign universities and institutions have been allowed in Gujarat International, Finance and Tech. In brief, we call it GIF City, to offer courses in financial management, fintech, science, technology, engineering from University of Wollongong in Australia in this regard. To assist foreign students in India, officers of international affairs have been established in 179 higher educational institutions. Program for Alumni Connect have been started in 156 higher educational institutions. NEET and QUET examinations are being conducted in 13 countries. GE main exam in 23 countries, and study in India scholarship tests in 136 countries. UGC, Initiative of Academic Network, we call it GEM, was launched in 2015. The program seeks to invite distinguished faculty members from premier institutions across the world to teach in the higher educational institutions in India. Collaboration with 38 countries is going on, and about 2,163 courses offered by foreign faculty have been approved. Study in India was launched in 2018. Study in India launched since its inception. It has drawn students from more than 150 countries, spanning across SAARC, South Africa, and Southeast Asia, Central Asia, and Middle East.
Mentioned, I'm Dr. Avantika Tomar, and I'm a partner with Udai Parthenon, which is an education consulting organization and also the knowledge partner for today. Thank you also to ICC and this Globalized Education Forum. I'm very happy to be the knowledge partner. I'm very happy to be here to represent my firm and be a part of the report release. Dear esteemed guests on the dais, thank you so much for those amazing words that all of you have said. In a way, a lot of what I had to say has already been covered by many of you. And Honorable Minister, thank you for sharing some of those statistics around not just what is happening in the space of international higher education today, but also what the government has planned for international higher education in the future. Just to summarize, I suppose, everything that has already been said, I just thought, for all our delegates from various educational institutions and government agencies, I thought what we could do is just take a little tiny step back and talk about what was international higher education and what is. A little bit of it has obviously been helped or boosted by COVID. But a lot of it is all in the good spirit of internationalization, and the definition of internationalization today has changed. So if we think about, perhaps half a decade ago, large part of what internationalization was about student mobility and faculty mobility. So every time we talked about international higher education, we would talk about students going from one country to the other, from their home country to a host country, and likewise faculty exchange would happen, again, either in terms of a short term, for a term a faculty goes in a different country and then comes back, or relocates for a certain number of years and comes back. Today, ladies and gentlemen, if we think about what is the definition for internationalization of higher education, it's actually 5 things now. One, Student mobility continues. So, my esteemed guests here have already spoken about some of the numbers, but if I could just give you a sense of how many students in the world actually are mobile when it comes to either their undergraduate degrees or their postgraduate degrees and beyond. Today in the world, 6 million students travel from their home country to any other host country to gain higher education. Right. In India, we send 500,000 Indian students overseas. Again, usual suspects of destination countries being UK, US, Canada, Australia. Those are obviously the top four for Indian students to go overseas. But only 49,000 students from the world come to India to study. So if we think about just student mobility on the whole, of course, we started to make some good strides and we've started to have a lot of impact, and our higher education sector is great. But then if we look at the 6 million number and compare that to how many students actually out of that 6 million come to India, it's less than 1%. So while we started to make some very important strides, we still have a long way to go as a credible destination country where students from not just developing and underdeveloped countries, but also the developed world want to come to India to study. And I completely agree with you. I think, Mr. Sharma, you were talking about, Ayurveda, yoga. He was talking about a lot of the, things that are indigenous to us. We should absolutely be able to attract the right people, the right students to come to India for that. But not just that, and I think this is where Honorable Minister was talking about Gift City, which is, focus on finance and technology. Again, I mean, look at where we are today, right? With our focus on fintech, edtech, agri-tech, health tech. I mean, there's just so much that we have to offer to the world today. We are, ladies and gentlemen, the second largest edtech economy in the world. So there is obviously something that we have to offer to students internationally. So the first one, like I said, is student mobility. It is happening. We are sending a lot more students than we are actually getting into the country. So there is room to grow there. Second is faculty mobility. So again, if I just compare US and India, US has 86,000 international scholars just in US, which means they have 86,000 people who are non-Americans who have come from different parts of the world to either teach or do research in the US.
Internationalization of higher education. Thank you for gracing the occasion. Conference. Professor. Sir. And CEO Heritage Group of Institutions.
Respected Dr. Rajkumar Ranjan Singh, Honorable Minister of State, Ministry of Education and External Affairs, Government of India, Mr. Abhiday Jindal, Vice President, Indian Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Satyam Rai Chaudhary, Chairman, ICC National Expert Committee on Higher Education and Training, Chancellor, Sister Nivedita University, Respected Professor G.D. Sharma, Vice President, AIU and Vice Chancellor, University of Science and Technology, Meghalaya, Professor Malvika Sarkar, Vice Chancellor, Asoka University, Mr. Dilip Hanumara, CEO and Director, Trigen Technologies, Chancellors, Vice Chancellors, education leaders, distinguished speakers in various sessions upcoming now, and all the dignitaries of the dais. Good morning, all of you. It gives me a great pleasure to deliver the closing remarks and formal vote of thanks at the end of this very engaging session. I take this opportunity to express my gratitude to the Honorable Minister of State, Dr. Rajkumar Ranjan Singh, Ministry of Education and External Affairs, Government of India, for his kind presence at the forum
and sir, for sharing your thoughts with us today morning. I also extend my sincere thanks to Professor J.D. Sharma, Vice President of AIU and Vice Chancellor of University of Science and Technology, Meghalaya, for making time out of his busy schedule and being with us here today. Sir, thank you. My heartfelt thanks go to Summit Chair, Professor Malvika Sarkar, Vice Chancellor of Asoka University. She is the Summit Chair and she will be all through guiding us for this conference. And Mr. Dilip Hanumara, who was present online for his valuable participation and insightful deliberations. I would like to also thank the audience for being present throughout the program and making it a great success. I would lastly like to thank our esteemed media partners and sponsors for supporting the event immensely. Our sincere thanks to the Association of Indian Universities for supporting us as an academic partner, Trigen Technologies as our principal partner, Somaya Vidya Vihar University as our co-partner, GIS University as the university partner, Ernst & Young as the knowledge partner, and Heritage Group of Institutions, Om Dayal Group of Institutions, Sense Raj Technologies, towards organizing this summit successfully. Today's session was indeed enriching and informative for all of us, which has thrown light on the current higher education scenario in our country and globalization of it. From today's session, I would like to mention some of the key takeaways from my part addressing the way forward to the higher education systems in India. It is vital that the Indian universities begin to appreciate the value of ushering in internationalization within the campus by embedding it in the length and breadth of their curricular and extracurricular efforts. Universities of the future must aim to increase inbound student mobility by improving academic and infrastructural resources and streamlining administrative procedures. Indian universities have focused excessively on internalization abroad and neglected internalization at home. A developing country like India, with limited financial and infrastructural resources, stands to benefit far more than from internationalization at home. Universities must also gain awareness about the many modes of internationalization. Student mobility, which has been doing most of the heavy lifting, must be seen to be only one of many orders. One of the recent changes is professor of practice. I think that is a very welcoming approach which is being followed in Western countries. So with this, I would like to thank everyone one and again and close the program. Thank you. Jai Hind.